Hey everyone, it's Julianne Meyer, host of Own Your Wellness, and I'm excited to be back. I have a special guest today, and I know I say that, but you don't understand. This young lady has been in my life for literally half my life. I was just thinking about that. She is an amazing soul, and I can't wait to have her come on. Her name is Genevieve Kyle-Lefebvre, and you know what? I was so scared to be able to say that. I've known her for over 20 years, and it's like, that's the first time I've ever known how to say it. Did French. Was that true?
That's true. And the second language there, it's actually French. And their first business language is French. Yeah, interesting. Huh?
Exactly. Oh my gosh, that's so much fun. I completely forgot about that. That is how we met.
Yep.
And that was a fun trip too. I remember, I'll never forget it. There are so many memories, just like, oh, be still in my heart. But we are here to talk about you. I would love for you to share a little bit about yourself and your own wellness journey.
Yes. So if I, in my general wellness journey, I've always been quite active myself, eating well. And I live in the Greater Vancouver area now, but I'm born and raised in Montreal, Canada. So of course I speak French and French Canadian. So I always been into sports, going to gym, being careful, take care of myself. You know, I grew into that. As a young person, I was competing at snowboarding and also swimming. And later on, even if I'm almost 5'2", I did play college basketball, believe it or not. So I always I was always around sports and performance, and that grew to be part of my life. And then I became a mom, and this is what I want to talk about, because I think people that listen to me right now, when you become a mom, a dad, your wellness journey will change and they will challenge you. And I'm really looking forward to talk about this today. Yeah.
Well, I'm excited to have you here because you know that I don't have kids of my own. And actually at this point in my life, it's the first time I was like, maybe I should have had kids. But there's so many people out there. And even if you don't have children, like what you have to share is so important for people to learn and listen for and to. So I would just love for you to share a little bit more about how that's looked for you.
Okay, so my whole journey in parenting started by I have listened to all the podcasts. I had read the books, the baby books. I've talked to people. I surrounded myself with people that had experience, and then you become a mom, right? And all of a sudden, as a parent, even though you have a lot of friends and people around you, you're a little bit alone because your friends are actually working. So you're at home with your little baby, and I do think there's always a moment by the time you give birth until you're actually up and going and running around again. You know, you got to take care of yourself first. And then I was ready to go on some walk, meet some mom, do different things. And it's not that always easy. So I'm lucky that I live in Vancouver and I was able to open my house to lunches. I met few moms that had babies, and I come over, everybody brings something, and that grew so big. It grew to, it was a simple messenger Facebook. It was a messenger conversation on Facebook that grew to a Facebook group to over 600 people. So can you imagine having a Facebook group close to 600 people and inviting them for lunch, right? All those moms around your area that actually are yearning, they want to meet, they need connection, right? So my whole journey of parenting started with all those moms. So I surrounded myself with all the professions and all those amazing parents around me, because during the day was all with the moms, but we actually did a lot of activities and different things, including the dads also, because it's not just the mom now that's alone being a mom. Sometimes the dad is alone being a dad also, because all his friends, either they're younger or older, they don't have babies. So dads can feel alone in their own way. And it's not, men are a bit different than women. I think women generally will be expressing their feelings a little bit easier than men. But I think it's important to not forget the dads in that equation. So bringing all this together, I found some mom that loves to go for hikes with their babies on the back, at the front. Also long walks, especially in the first little bit. We can talk a little bit about pelvic floor health, right? I think new parents really have to be careful with their pelvic floor. I myself had they use a suction to get my first baby out, so I didn't feel very well for a long time. For someone that would go and hike for hours, well, I couldn't do this. What do you do now, right? And who do you surround yourself that actually wants to do what you want to do at that time? And it's also for your, of course, your wellness, your physical wellness, but your mental health. I mean, for me, activities and sports been my life. So if I can't do it, like that doesn't work for me. You know, it's impacting me mentally, right? So I just had to respect myself and go baby steps. And I recommend every single new parent, new mom specifically, to go and get their pelvic floor checked before to have children, and to already start with if it's a physiotherapist, we call it in Canada, but I think they're called different in the States. I don't know what you can probably help me on that, Julie.
Physical therapist?
I think so. Yeah, I think it's very similar. So to start with one that will guide you before you give birth, and after the 6 months, after birth, the 6 weeks appointment, usually you should go and check and then follow the curriculum. Then they will recommend you. That's super important, because we think we're like, oh, I feel great, everything is great, and all of a sudden, a little later, you start feeling some like heaviness in the vagina, or you start feeling heaviness in the pelvic area, and then you can have some, when the belly doesn't come, the muscle doesn't come back well together. So there's an exercise you should be avoiding. So that is super important when we talk about wellness and exercises. When you start again exercising, to be very careful and get someone that will actually follow you.
I am really glad that you mentioned that, because even though I haven't had my own children, I have a lot of friends that do have them, and I've never once heard anybody mention this before. Not one time. And it seems, well, rather important to be just frank about it. So it's very nice and refreshing that you're saying, hey, don't forget this. It seems like one of those things that just doesn't get mentioned, really. You might hear about other things, but not
people
that.
forget about it. And honestly, your pelvic floor, it is what's holding your organ in place. So if you're a runner and you like to go running, you have babies, well, you got to be careful with your pelvic floor. Otherwise, like, your years of running is going to be looking a lot different. And by having someone guiding you through this, you will be running again, and without peeing yourself. Let's be honest here, right? Let's talk about what is it after, right? So yeah. And that's something I had to be very careful myself. Yeah.
No, I just love that, because I can't tell you how many times I've heard people say, don't make me laugh, I'm going to pee. And it's always how many mothers, and it's always mothers that are the ones that say that. And so if it's an easy fix or something that you can take care of before it turns into that, why not do it? I love that. That's so amazing. So what other sort of adventures and things have you sort of come up across and gone through that you think is worth mentioning for these new parents out there?
Okay. So if you're like me, then you think, I'm going to rock this world. I'm going to be the perfect mom, or I'm going to be the super mom. You know, we see all this super mom posting all those beautiful pictures on Instagram and being perfect, and I'm not saying I was not one of those. We always have high expectation of how your new life is going to look like. I would recommend you to find some really good friends around you that will actually support you when you haven't been sleeping, when things are not exactly the way you thought it would be, when your children are not nursing the way you think, how the thing they would be, or how you think you thought it was going to be really easy, and then it's not. And it's okay. And I think it's all comes from all those high expectations, and now they get all crushed. But you know what? Let's just come back and just talk about it. Surround yourself with amazing people, and it is so normal. But often mom stays home, don't share, and they suffer in silence. And that was one of the reasons why I opened my house. I needed some people around me, and obviously a lot of people needed some people around them. And I did have some mom that came and they were pregnant. So they were looking for people to surround them, new moms, even though they were not mom yet. And that is the key. Before you have the baby, find those people, look how they're doing things, how they exercise, how they feed their children, how do they breastfeed, right? How they do all those things while maintaining a balance.
So do you find that you right now that you have a good balance, or would you say it's more in harmony? Do you understand my question? Like, because a lot of people think that everything should be going smoothly and every part and even. And for me, I don't have kids, but it's not like that. Sometimes I'm doing more work. Sometimes I'm doing more this. Sometimes I'm doing more that. But it's definitely my life is in harmony because there's not too much for too long of one thing. So do you have that experience, or is yours balanced?
You know what? I would not say my life is balanced. I would be lying right now saying this. And to put everybody in context, I'm an older mom. I'm 45 and I have a 2-year-old and a 4-year-old, right? So most of my friends around that are my age have almost adult children. So my conversation is very different with my friends, and I have for a long time, and my new friends that are moms that are actually, most of them are younger, right? So when it comes to balance myself, I like to say, let's be authentic here. Let's be real. And I like to use real stories and real example with my children and say the real thing. So I put myself boundaries, I would say. So with this, from this date, this hour to this hour, I'm with my children. And when they go to bed, then I will do certain things. During the day, I'm not with my children. They're at work, at school, and daycare. I should say we call it school, actually.
I like that.
And I think it's about for me, it was about putting boundaries. I can't say yes to everything. And to also, I learned to navigate being a wife, being a person, being a mom, and work, right? So it's the how do you actually balance all those areas? Or sometimes I put my mom's hat and I put my wife's hat and I put my, the and I went back at my work, right? When I'm here with you, Julie, right? I have my broadcasting hat on and helping parents and the message we want to share to people. So I like to change those hats. And when I'm doing something and I'm actually, let's say I work, I do not feel guilty from not being with my children. And I know a lot of parents feel so guilty from even going to the gym and doing certain things because they're not with their children. So they're never in the present. They should be somewhere else. They should do something else. It's always about feeling guilty not being with their children. And I find parents get lost in that a lot. And it's something that I like to encourage people to try to give this up, because it's a hard way to live. And it's so much pressure than we put on ourselves. Yeah.
It is. And like you said, it's a perception change. So what I'm curious about is you were able to do that. Is there some sort of, were you one of those parents at first that felt guilty all the time and something switched for you? Or have you always been able to maintain that separation mentally where you can be there fully where you are?
Actually, Julie, you're going to laugh at this. I was a mom that started feeling guilty because I wasn't feeling guilty.
Oh, I love that.
Guilty. And I'm like, yeah, I'm out. This is so much fun. I'm running, I'm hiking, I'm doing this, I'm doing that. And then everybody was talking about, they're mentioning, oh, I hope my children's okay. I hope they're okay with dad, or I can be okay with grandma. Maybe I should go back. They were looking at their clock, and and I'm their phone. And I'm just like, I have no guilt right now. I'm loving this. This is where I want to be. And so no, I never had that.
I love that. And that's, honestly, then you are present for all of your life because they are a part of your life. And my philosophy has always been that kids come through you. They're not yours, so they need space to become their own person too. And if you're not always there, that gives them an opportunity to come up against things that they might not be able to come up against. And I don't know. I love that you didn't have any guilt, because that's how I would hope to be.
You know what? I think to me, it's the only way to be. I have a good partner, then I'm feeling 100% comfortable. Like I know when the children are with my husband, they're in good hands. Or if they're with grandpa, grandma, or like when my children are not with me, they're in security. So I don't have to worry. I'm sure some parents don't have this chance or not as fortunate. So I do feel sometimes every parent needs a break and needs a me time, and we need to miss our children. When we miss them, we have something new to talk with them. We have something to share. Like when my children come back from daycare, I ask them, what did you do today? And then I'm training them to actually ask me to be curious, what did mommy did today? So I actually, of course, if I tell them, like I always the same thing, they're gonna find it boring. So I tell them, oh, mom, even for a walk. And then I saw some flowers. The flowers are coming out, and just little things like this. So, and I find they are making me pay attention to the little details of life. And I think this is so healthy to go outside. And I call it my conscious meditation. And I encourage all parents to start doing this. You might not have time to go and find a space and meditate for half an hour a day or an hour a day. And what I do is I go out and I go for a walk and I just pay attention to the details and breathe. And I teach this to my children also. And this is something that is absolutely magical and is teaching them the magic of nature. And you don't need to be in forest to do this, right? You can start looking at rocks. You can start looking at like the cracks on the sidewalk because they are crocodiles and we jump over it. And I like to transform a lot of the things we do into activities and to actually exercise with my children, because I had all the time in the world before to go to the gym and follow my plan. And now it was so difficult. And no, you can do it with children. Like, I don't know, the lines on the grass are crocodiles, or the lava is coming and then we're running from one side to the other. And that can transform into active learning with your children. I think it's a great way to develop their imagination by asking them which colors are the crocodiles, or what's there, which animal is there, and not run away from it. Why, it's going to catch us, right? And let them lead. This is so important. Let our children lead us so they have the chance to become leader at really young age. I think I'm adding a little bit to your question here, but
no, I love it. I was just thinking, wow. And plus the fact that you're teaching them how to think creatively instead of just seeing things for as they are, technically they can imagine things into life. So imagine how much easier it'll be later on in life when they're trying to come up with solutions to things instead of just looking at it going, all I see is black and white. You're already training them to see all colors instead of just black and white. So
yeah.
Love that. That is so important. I never even thought about that. You had mentioned something to me privately about yoga.
Yes.
And yoga with your kids. So would you mind sharing about that?
Yes. So I do love doing yoga with my children. When they were really little baby, I would basically do some pause and had them on me. There's certain pause you can't do. For me, I wasn't comfortable. I mean, security first, always, right? But what I do with my kids is we actually have our own yoga language. Of course, there's a tree pause, we call it the bridge, and then we call it like all different things we do, like crocodile, the lava's coming, the snakes. And we started by watching different shows on TV. We just follow the lead. There's a lot of kids yoga. And out of this, we started to do our own things. And we like to do this, as I would say, a few times a week. And another thing that I really like to do with my children is we do dance party. So me and my husband even purchased like our whole house transformed to like a discotheque, like a dance floor, and the lights are going, and we put, of course, it's like the Gummy Bear song and all the hits that they like as children. And we just dance, and I'm telling you, I'm sweating. And sometimes I do the teacher and sometimes they are the teachers. So sometimes the baby one is the teacher and sometimes the other one, and teaching my older one to follow the lead of the little one. It's actually more difficult because sometimes it makes no sense, right? So try to explain that to a 4-year-old, but it's over time, then he's getting it, and we all have fun with this. So there's so many things you can do, like yoga, dance parties, like I said, outside, go outside, run, bring back the red blocks or the blue blocks, and what else? It's infinite what you can do. Tag and hide and seek, and just go for it. I find parents just need to take the time to play with their children and let them lead every day. And I think as we're conditioned to want to teach them all the time, right? So we want to teach them. We want to tell them more things. Let's sit down and read the encyclopedia. How boring is this? Like, I mean, put yourself in your kids' like little mind. Sometimes it can be interesting, yes, but maybe sometimes they need to move. I have 2 boys. They are just like, if I can, before to go to bed, we read a book, but before that, they have this like energy that needs to come out, right? So go outside. My husband takes them back from school, right? From daycare. And he go get there with their little mini scooters, their bikes and everything. So they get out and say, what do you want to do today? And while I come back from work, I basically cook. And by the time they come back, they've been to daycare. Now they exercise. They did, Alex is learning to bike without side wheels, and we're coming back and they have they're pooped already. So now it's time for food. They're happy. And now it's mommy time. And that's when I do a bit of yoga to relax them. And sometimes we do dance party. That is not relaxing though.
No, I love that you do yoga in particular. The reason why I wanted to mention that is because a lot of parents feel like, oh, that's my thing, it's not their thing. And they don't even think to incorporate it and make it fun for their children. I mean, yoga is good for everyone. So I love the fact that you thought of that. And, you're able to it's still about you, but it's something you get to do with them as well. And, you're teaching them at the same time, even though it doesn't feel like it.
I think it's just to take every single little, just take what you like as a person. You like to go hiking, you like yoga, and teach it to your children, but teach it in a way they will like it, right? Put yourself in their shoes and let's try different things. And if it doesn't work, keep having fun and trying different things. And I promise you it will work. If you put your soul into it and teaching them your passion, they're little sponges. And they, at this age, like we are their gods, right? We just like, they want to, all what they want to do is be with us. And this is an unconditional love that it's hard to find anywhere else, like in children. It's different ways, different love, right? It's beautiful.
No, it absolutely is. I think that we're going to take a commercial break because I want to talk about some other stuff after we get back. So we'll be back in just a moment. All right.
All right.
Isn't she amazing? Oh my goodness. I just love her, and just her energy and enthusiasm and intelligence and creativity. Oh my goodness. I could go on forever. But before we go to commercial break, I do want to say hello to everybody who's watching live, and I appreciate you being here, and Geneviève does as well. But like I mentioned, we do need to go to commercial. So we'll be right back after these messages.
When drug or alcohol addiction take over, things begin to disappear. Your friends, your family, and eventually, you. Recommended by Dr. Phil, New Method Wellness can help get your life back with individualized treatment plans for dual diagnosis clients. New Method Wellness provides the most highly credentialed treatment in a safe and welcome environment. Call New Method Wellness for your free consultation and ask about our national accreditations. Together, we can put the pieces back together.
everyone. Welcome back. Once again, Julianne, your host of Own Your Wellness. And I'm so happy to have my guest, Genevieve Kyle-Lefebvre. And let's bring her back so we can talk some more. Hello, hello. Welcome back.
Thank you.
So I want to touch on Parent Talk. Can we talk a little bit about that, please?
Yes. So ParentTalk was born out of the big group of moms that I created to when like I was saying earlier, when I was feeling a little bit alone and I love having all this beautiful feminine energy around me. And so ParentTalk was born out of those moms. So we had all kind of professions and we decided we cannot just let this die. So we decided to create a podcast, and it's through form of interviews from expert. And so I interview, like you, Julie, expert in the parenting world. So I have learned so much out of this experience. And so now I can consider myself as a parenting expert, since it's been over 5 years and I'm talking about parenting now.
I didn't realize it had been that long. Wow, time really flies.
I know.
So are people, if they were to say reach out to you on Instagram, would that be a good way? Or
yeah, a lot of
how
people
often
reach
do
out.
you get?
How
I'm
do I
sorry.
get people? Yeah.
Yeah.
So people usually can reach out to us on our website at parenttalk.ca. There's a contact us space, little section there. Also Instagram at podcaster Jen, or you can simply find our page, Parent Talk Podcast, on Facebook, or also you can find me, Genevieve Kyle-Lefebvre, or Genevieve Kyle-Lefebvre. Yeah, like you say it so well. On Facebook. Yeah, those are the main places to reach us, and it's very easy to reach us. So if you're an expert in the parenting world, don't hesitate to reach out to us. We want to know what you think, and we'd love to have you on the show. Yeah.
So that's amazing. Something that just, okay. I'm sure you probably won't remember this, but I remember a million years ago when we would go to Cactus Club for whatever to eat. This is a restaurant chain in Canada, for those of you who don't know. And we used to go there all the time. But anyway, you would get a salad, and instead of salad dressing, you would do a salsa instead, because it was flavorful and it was healthier. And that's always stuck with me. And in fact, I've incorporated that into my life because of you.
Yes,
so
I love those little substitution for dressing, and I love the Mexican essence to a lot of things, and I love to eat. So salsa, it's really good to go for salad. I also love balsamic reduction, and I think balsamic reduction is my to-go now.
So my question for you then is, there's a lot of parents out there that say, oh, my kids won't eat this or they won't eat that. And what would you say to them?
Okay. This is my number one tip for parents and also for adult. And it doesn't matter if you're a parent or not here. You just have to try it. So for your children, even if they don't like it, you just have to try it. Have one bite. It's okay. Tell them you're not going to be in trouble if they don't like it. You can say this to your husband and your wife also. Just try it. And children, it's been proven that food has to be put on their plate many, many, many times before they actually start liking it. So it doesn't mean it's going to be broccoli, I love it. I'm going to eat broccoli all the time. My second one loves broccoli. My first one still does not eat broccoli, right? So, and every single one of your children are different. My husband used to not like sushi, and now he likes sushi. So even adult will start liking different things in life. I used to not drink wine, and now I do,
That's funny.
Yeah. So I love that. Yeah.
So what are your thoughts on things like trying to sneak vegetables into smoothies and stuff like that?
Absolutely. There is zucchini in everything I touch in my house. Nobody has any idea. Absolutely. Children, if they don't know, I love those smoothies. My kids loves it. And I'll put a touch of spinach, a little bit of cucumbers, you name it. I do like a little bit of chia seed grounded and a little bit of flaxseed grounded. And I also put some hemp seed that are grounded. Have you ever heard about cricket powder? I put a bit of cricket powder for protein in there for children. It's very popular right now in the parenting world. A lot of people talk about that. So yeah. So I put that into shakes with lots of beautiful strawberries. And you know what? Another little tip I can give here is if you cook your strawberry and you just put them in the microwave on the stove top, let them cook. It just brings out the natural sweetness or sweetness, the sweets of the strawberry. And I put that in my smoothie, and that makes it so much sweeter, but without adding any sugar. So another tip I can give to all the parents here, and even though if you're not a parent, is I make my own popsicle. And in my popsicles, there is Greek yogurt, natural. I cook the strawberry, like I just said, to make them a little bit sweeter. And then I cook the hell out of those zucchinis, make them super smush, like super, super cook. And often children, what's really in right now, it's all those pouches, right? You see all those children eating those pouches. And often I bought a lot of them organic, like with fruit and vegetable. My children did not like them. And of course I had bought a box of 12. So then I put all this, I blend it all up with lots of yogurt. It makes the most amazing popsicle. So my children loves it. They probably think like those poor children at school are probably thinking like those kids always eat popsicles because they always talk about popsicles we're eating, but they're so healthy. And I put that cricket powder in it, and here we go. They have no idea they're eating all this great stuff and popsicles. So you can freeze your smoothie basically.
I love that. I also like to make the banana ice cream. That's one of my favorites. So speaking of cooking and eating, do you find they tend to like or enjoy the food more if they help you with the cooking, or is that something that you just do on your own?
I do most of it on my own, but what I like to do with my children, and I would say sometimes I had my grandma, when my children's grandma, what they like is when we make little cars out of cucumbers, and we make little make little cars with the wheels of carrots, and we put little tomatoes for the little people, and then we make spiders with apple slices, and we make like trees or all kind of different things with we play with food, and that's definitely a hit in my house, and I'm sure for everybody that you think you don't have time to do it, but it actually doesn't take very long. Just you need a cucumber, like a little bit of tomatoes here and there, or like a pepper, and there we go. Like you got a spider, just slice and chop and play with them. So yeah,
well, I like the combination. Yeah, no, it's a combination too. Plus, I know that at least when kids are playing with their food or being a part of the creation of it, then they develop a different relationship with it. And all of a sudden they don't have that, I've got to eat my vegetables idea. It's like, ooh, spiders, or ooh, cars, not just.
Yes. And sometimes I ask them, what do you want to eat? Do you want a spider today, or you want a car? Are we going to be like giant with broccolis, or are we going to make a bridge with like a carrot? Then I kind of slice really, really thin, and it does this little loop, right? What are we going to do? And let them pick which vegetable and how they want to eat it. And you can mix, you can combo fruit and vegetable and have fun with it.
Yeah, why not? So, there's the big elephant in the room, and that's COVID. And fortunately, you and I, we've been vaccinated. Yay.
Yes.
But there's a lot of people that are doing homeschooling right now, for example. What in the world? Oh my goodness. I can't even imagine. I mean, the level of change in relationship that must create between a parent and the child with having to homeschool all of a sudden. Did you have to do that, or your kids are a little on the younger side? So
I did not have to homeschool, but I know quite a few people that had to do it, and it's been a struggle for a lot of parents. So I think children ended up doing a lot more screen time, which I think we all hear about, like the amount of time that children are spending on their computer or their phone. We're all trying to be attentive to it. And I think COVID brought a big curveball when it came to screen time. So all of a sudden now we're asking our children to be in front of their computer because we're having Zoom class, or this is how you get your teacher, you talk to your teacher or meet some friends. And it was hard for a lot of teenagers to not be on their phone as much, because teenagers actually need to have their friends. It's part of development, right? So to get them to not be with their friends, this just doesn't work. Like, so of course, then the technology helped. I don't know if COVID was back in the day, what would have happened? Because it's kind of hard right now for if it's already hard enough like that. Imagine if technology was not existing. But so I find I'm curious to see what's going to happen after, because now they've been living with a lot more technology screen time than they probably used to in the past. And now, then I'm hoping soon we go back to normal. What's normal is going to look like, I don't know. But are we going to keep encouraging all this screen time? I don't know.
Well, that's a really good point too. And, something that I was thinking about is it's hard for me to sit in front of the screen for hours on end. So I can only imagine what it would be like. I mean, I can sit there, but I lose focus after a short while, maybe an hour. I'm like, okay, I need a break. Or I get, so how I know that yoga helps and meditation helps with focusing the mind. What other things would you recommend to parents in particular that could maybe help them with their children?
You know what? I think the key for a parent right now, it's the way you're going to connect with your children. There's many different type of parenting. We hear about it like all over the place. There's the conscious parent. There is the tiger mom or the tiger parent. There's a lawnmower parent. There is like the attachment parent. My vision on all this is you're going to take a little bit of all of this. You're going to create your own parenting. What I like to call myself, it's more of an authentic parent. So, and I'm not going to not say the truth to my children. Of course, sometimes I have little ones. Of course, sometimes I'm going to hide my agenda because they're so little. But eventually, it's about getting them involved to a lot of things that they need to know, and they need to grow with me. I think as a parent, growing alongside our children is the key in today's age, and thinking then you can just like say you're going to do this, you're not going to do that, and just like forgetting then they have their own little person, and we need to guide them to flourish. And trust me, we get trigger, and I know we get trigger as a mom or as a dad, and it's helping us transforming ourselves to grow ourselves as a person. So having children, it's the best example I can give you, like Julie, is how we get triggered with our family sometime, like our brother, sister, and children is the same. They know where is that button, right? So this is a great way, if you think about it, to grow as a person. So empowering them to be who they want to be, and stop trying to always decide everything for them, and let them guide us. I think that would definitely be a word of wisdom that would give to all parents. If we think about it, in this day and age, I have some stats here, and this is very interesting, actually. Did you know that some study released in 2017 found that the number of children and adolescents admitted at children's hospitals for thought of suicide or self-harm more than doubled during this decade? Doubled. Wow. So this is alarming. Another thing is approximately 1 in 5 children in North America meet the criteria for mental disorder. 1 in 5. 31.9% of children under the age of 18-year-old are diagnosed with anxiety disorder. So this is in the last decade, guys. So let's think about, what are we doing right and what can we do better, right? Because obviously there's things we spend more time with our children now than we ever spent. Like, think about dads in the 1970s compared to now, right? It's such a big difference. So there's a huge gap from before and now. So we're spending more time with our parents. And now look, 1 in 5 children meet the criteria for mental disorder. So I do think by stopping and going back into authentic parenting
Mhm.
and let them guide us. I'm telling you, connect before correct. This is a key. Another thing I have to say, like discipline, yes, but connect with your children first. I think
Mhm.
we've been so connected. Look at social media and everything is happening, but we're actually so disconnected.
Yes.
I find like with your children, we're so disconnected. Even I find I'm the first one sometimes. I'm on the couch with my children. We try to do like 5 to 7, no social media. I'm sneaking my phone in, and my husband tells me, "What are you doing, Jen?" I'm like, "Oh, I'm just doing one email, one text." We are all guilty of it. Let's just be authentic here and just try to do it less and less. And this is what we are teaching them, right? So
Yes.
that would be a little bit of my tip for parents. And even as individual, like train yourself to actually have 2 hours a day without your phone. Who can do that? This is what my husband and I try to do. From 5 to 7, there's no phone in our hand. The phone is around. Of course, if there's emergency, there's exception, but most of the time we try to do no phone. And it's hard. 2 hours a day.
I love that you say it's hard because it is. And I don't know if you know this, but I worked in addiction recovery for a long time. And I'm telling you that, yes, alcohol and drugs is a strong addiction, but the addiction to the phone, oh my gosh. I mean, people would have practically heart palpitations when you told them they couldn't use their cell phone for 30 days. They thought they were going to like pass out. And some people left because they couldn't even fathom the idea of having to use a landline.
I'm not surprised. It is addicting. Phone addicting is actually a condition, and like people go to recovery because of phone technology addiction, and video games and all that. Right?
You might not know anything about this, so and it's okay. But I'm just curious.
Okay.
What do you have any information, thoughts, or feelings about how food can affect children's moods as well, like the anxiety and the depression and everything else? Do you know about the correlation or?
Yes, I did interview quite a few experts on that. And my take on this is, we all know about sugar. We all know about the effect of sugar. If you have children, give sugar to your kids and look at what's happening. You do not need to be a scientist. It's obvious what's going to happen. I see it. And you know what? We talk about ADD, ADHD so much right now. We talk about children that are have mood swings, like terrible mood swings, and then you start removing certain food from their diets, and all of a sudden you have a different child. So as a parent, you have to be your own advocate, and you have to watch your children, and you have to start with nutrition. It's funny because I just had a conversation with my husband, and we know this. It's a friend of a friend. They were telling us they brought their children, one of their son, to the hospital, and I thought maybe he has some form of, maybe he's starting to be autistic. Something's happening. He doesn't want to walk anymore. Doesn't want to talk, and all this. To find that the child didn't want to eat a lot of things. So didn't want to eat this and that. And he was so depleted in so many vitamins, then his body was slowly shutting down. So children will say no, and they're so strong-willed, and it's so hard as a parent. But when you feel things are not right, you got to go get help. And if you have to check your child into the hospital, then so be it. But please don't wait until there, right? Until then. But you gotta have fun with food. You gotta be your own advocate. And one thing I think is even as adult, I find sometimes we wait until there's a problem to address it. What about being proactive? What about, try all the foods, put it out there, do the protocol when you start feeding your children to avoid allergies. There's certain foods you should avoid at the beginning, and you integrate one food at a time. But when your children are older, keep going for it. And then if they have certain problems, if there's attention problems or anything like this, eliminate certain foods and see and look what's happening. Talk about it with your children. Do you feel better? How do you feel? I think it's important to teach your kids how they feel. They don't really know until we teach them. How do you feel after eating this? Okay, now you want to eat junk food. junk food, right? Okay. I'm not saying you should never give junk food to your children. And we do it once in a while with my family. I'm not really for it, but once in a while, we stop and we grab a burger or whatever, right? But when they're older, they're a little bit too young, my children, but when they're older, this is what I'm planning to teach them on how we feel about that. You feel not so good? No. Is it worth it to eat it? Maybe not, huh? Okay. And then you let them choose their own food.
Yeah, no, I love that too, because you're not forcing it on them and you're giving them the opportunity. And also that, oh my gosh, I really actually want to highlight what you just said because it's so important, is you're teaching them to listen to their bodies. You're teaching them to pay attention to the signs and the signals that their bodies are giving them. And we're not taught that, like our generation, we were never taught that. We just went to the doctor if there's ever anything wrong. We're never taught how to be well on our own. And so I love that you speak about that and you speak into that, because it's so important, because who knows your own body better than you? So yeah, that's amazing. Something else that I'm kind of curious about too is, with the whole COVID thing, there are new parents now, and there are parents that now all of a sudden they've lost some of their friend base or that sort of thing. It's got to be, it's changed a lot of situations is what I'm getting at. Is there anything that you would do on your own that would help you with your own, say if you're in a bad mood or you just don't want to be, you want to step forward into a more positive place? What do you do for yourself to do that?
Okay. I have a little tip. And, when you're not in a good space, first of all, to deprogram your nervous system is take 2 deep breaths and sigh 3 times. It's just, you'll see the pressure goes from like, oh, to like, right? And then you may have to do this more than one time, and that's okay. If it's a situation or a conversation that it's happening around you and you're not sure this is where you want to go, I like to say or take myself out of the conversation in a very classy way, if I can say, is I just need to go to the washroom, maybe 2 minutes. Pause. I just really want to hear what you say. I want to continue this conversation. It's really important to acknowledge that this is very important for you. And then you remove yourself from the conversation because this is not going where you want, or probably the intention was not even that. But you know how conversation goes sideways sometimes? Sometimes you're not the one not having you're the one having a good day. The other person is not having a good day and you didn't know, right? So that can happen also. But take a pause, go to the washroom, look at yourself in the mirror. Is this worth it? Is it going to teach or empower the person I'm talking with? And is it out of love? Ask yourself those 3 conversations. And if you answer no to any of those, it is not worth it. If you're not going to be empowering the other person, and you are, especially if it's a difficult conversation, you know what? Like, come back and say, I'm sorry, I don't like where this is going. Just be authentic, just be real. This is not what I meant, and just like, hey, I love you. And the person on their side took a few minutes to think. And I'm telling you, it works every single time. The conversation will switch. The energy will switch around, and you can go back to where you left it, but finish it with love. I say, you know what, it's not worth it. Or I was just thinking about this, and you know what, is this important? And often people will start laughing, So that's one thing. Then if I'm not feeling well, I think I really like to take some deep breath. Or if a conversation is not going where I want it to, I like to give myself a break, bathroom break.
I love that. That's a really good way to do it too, because like you said, that just gives you a second to recenter and reset yourself. And you can actually be present for the conversation, because you're not trying to avoid anything, but you do want to have a better outcome. So I appreciate you saying that. I'm curious. So if people want to watch your show or your podcast, how do they do that?
So they can simply go on all the platform. You can find us on
Okay,
Apple
perfect.
Podcasts, Google Play, Spotify. You can go directly to our website at ParentTalk.ca. We actually just started Parent Talk TV, so you can go on YouTube, and we are recording like we're doing right now, you and me, Julie. But so we are just starting putting some episode there. Of course, we have a lots of episode on all the other platform. We just started on the YouTube channel, on our own YouTube channel. We also have Les Parents Parlent, which is Parent Talk's French edition. So you can find at lesparentsparlent.ca. And this is, I interview some French experts in the parenting world. And so if you speak French, then you can listen to some French parenting podcasts. Yeah.
So I know that at least for a while you had somebody that you hosted the podcast with. So how does that work for your French one? Does she
So
speak
for the
French?
French one, I'm by myself. Heather Fox is
Okay.
my co-host on Parent Talk, and she's fantastic, and she's always going to be by my side. So she is with me on Parent Talk podcast, and she's also with me on Parent Talk TV. And in French, it's me. Yeah.
I love that. We are running low on time. So I'm hoping that you could close us out with some final gems for the audience or any thoughts maybe that you haven't mentioned that you feel is important for them to know.
Okay. I think if I have a message, it's just to go back to the root of parenting. I think we're a little bit all conditioned in our own person. What we want for our children is often what we did not accomplish as a person. So forcing your children to go to university because you did not go to university, forcing your kids to play music and all those things, it goes back to what I was saying earlier. We're there to guide our children and to give them a lot of resources, but we have to listen. And the deep connection with our children is the key. And we want to be our children's best bet. So when your child in the future will need help, you want your child to go back and see you, because they are going to go see you instead of taking bad decision in the future. So, and I think about addiction, and look what's happening with fentanyl and all those things. So a lot of children that have deep connection with their parents goes back to their parents instead of following some questionable friends, or because that is where they feel safe. They feel safer with their parents than their friends. So children that doesn't have a safe and deep connection with their parents often will take the wrong turn.
Oh, that's beautifully said. I also just want to put up these again as well. So whoever's watching can reach out to you on Instagram as well. And then also Facebook, correct?
Yes.
And do you, on parenttalk.ca, do you put parenting tips on there as well? Because I didn't actually look at the site, but because I pay attention to you.
We do have, we do have a little blog, so you can go and read things out. We also have, we have a list of all the experts that have been on the show. So if you listen to a show and you actually love it and you want to reach out to the expert, all the informations are there. And if you like an expert more than the other one, you can actually go right to the expert and listen to their podcast. So they're listed, all their podcasts are listed under their name. And so it's a pretty good little website if you don't know where to start as a parent. Yeah, good place to go.
I love it. Well, thank you so much for joining us today, Geneviève. It's gone quickly and it's been fun.
I had so much fun, Julie. I'll come back anytime.
Awesome. You are more than welcome to. Absolutely. We'll see you soon. Thanks again. Isn't she? Oh, I know. I am being a little dramatic here, but I just love her wealth of knowledge, and I feel inspired every time. And that's not her only area of expertise, by the way. So you'll definitely want to get to know her better. Check out her podcast. And I'll be back on Thursday. Until next time. See you then.